Hi and welcome to another story, and today we have part 7 of Cookie by Jacqueline Wilson, continuing from chapter 12. A rabbit, I whispered. It's your birthday bunny, said Rona. Dad scrubbed out my rabbit's hutch for you, and we've got bedding and rabbit food. Mum's parcelled up some lettuce and dandelion leaves too. Oh, Rona, I said. I shut my eyes tight, but I couldn't stop 2 tears spilling down my cheeks. What's the matter, Beauty? You did want a rabbit, didn't you? Said Rona. Yes, I wanted a rabbit more than anything else in the world, I said. So there you are then, said Rona. I can't wait to hear what you're going to call him. Call who? Said Dad, coming up the hall behind me. Can you just lift that wooden thing off of the parquet flooring? Certainly, said Mr. Marshall. Shall I shove the hutch round the back? The hutch, said Dad. I swallowed so hard my head started spinning. I had one hand inside the box. I stroked the soft fur. Rona's bought me a little rabbit for my birthday, I said. I waited. I didn't dare look around at Dad. I heard his sharp intake of breath. I think our Beauty's been a bit of a naughty girl asking you to give her a rabbit, said Dad. She knows she's not allowed to have pets. Oh, she didn't ask, Mr. Cookson, said Rona, totally unfazed. But I knew just how much she'd love a rabbit. It's just a little weeny baby rabbit. He won't make any mess at all. He'll just stay neat and cosy in his hutch. You'll let Beauty keep him, won't you? I certainly hope you will, pal, because I don't want to lumber this damn hutch all the way home, said Mr. Marshall. I waited, holding my breath. We all waited. Rona and Mr. Marshall, Mum, Skye, Emily, Arabella, and every other girl at my party. Well, in that case, of course, Beauty can have her little bunny, said Dad. Hooray, said Rona. Cheers, said Mr. Marshall. There was an excited babble as everyone crowded round, wanting to see my rabbit. No, careful. We mustn't frighten him, I said, firmly, feeling the poor little thing quivering. I looked up at Dad. He was smiling at me. He even said, "Aw," as I lifted the little rabbit out of his box and cradled him in my arms. But I saw his narrowed eyes, his clenched jaw, the pulse beating in his forehead. Mr. Marshall carried the hutch through the house and out of the French windows into the back garden. Rona carried the bunny box, and I carried the rabbit. Everyone else crowded round, wanting to see him and stroke him. Get back a bit. He's getting so frightened. He's little. He's worried you might hurt him, I said, fiercely protective. They all moved back, even Skye. It was tricky transferring my rabbit into his hutch. He wriggled frantically, and I had to hang on to him really tightly, though I was terrified of hurting him. I knew how clumsy I could be, and yet somehow my hands knew how to cup and hold and soothe him. Let's tuck him up in bed, said Rona, pulling his straw out of the box. Watch what you're doing, dear. That stuff's going all over the patio, said Dad. Come on, girls. We've still got to eat the profiterole tower, and the super stretch limo will be here soon. Hang on, Mr. Cookson. We've got to feed the rabbit first, said Rona. I didn't give him any breakfast, so he wouldn't do any poos in his birthday box. All the girls giggled and started chatting about what rabbits like to eat. Dad's smile was so strained his lips disappeared. Buck up then, dears, he said. Skye had hold of the lettuce and dandelion parcel. Here you go, Bunny. Here's your yummy green, she said. No, Skye, it's not your rabbit. Beauty must feed him, said Rona. So I fed my rabbit. My hand was shaking and my tummy in knots because of Dad, but it was still the most fantastic feeling, offering the leaves and seeing my rabbit's nose twitch, his soft mouth open, his little teeth starting to chomp, chomp, chomp. I'd loved Nicholas Navy Bear, but that was nothing like having a real, soft, breathing little creature nuzzling my fingers. He's the loveliest rabbit ever, Rona, I whispered. So what's his name, your little birthday bunny, she said. Well, we'll call him Birthday, I said, because he's the best birthday present I've ever had. Apart from the gorgeous giant toy rabbit I gave you, Beauty, said Dad. Come on now, they're about to cut the cake. Back in the house, everyone. Mum made me wash my hands, though I wanted to keep the feel of Birthday's soft fur and warm tongue on my fingers. I didn't get to cut the profiterole tower myself, as it was such a complicated job, but I handed out the plates to everyone. Mr. Marshall stayed to have a piece too. Yum, yum. I've got lucky, he said. Happy birthday, Beauty. You look an absolute picture in that lovely dress. I looked at him. He didn't seem to be making a joke. He was smiling as if he really meant it. Thank you, I said, smiling back at him. It's my birthday present from my mum. Oh, well, your mum's got the knack of looking lovely herself, said Mr. Marshall, nudging up to Mum and giving her a little pat. He was just being silly, wiggling his eyebrows and playing about, but Dad glared at him. Right, we'd better start rounding up the kids. The super stretch will be here in any minute, he said, peering at his Rolex. I don't want to chase you out, chum, but we need to get cracking. Mr. Marshall took his heavy hint and said goodbye. I wished he was coming with us. He was so kind and funny. I felt nothing really bad could happen when he was around. Now, girls, you'd better all make a quick trip to the little girls' room. We don't want any of you taking short in the super stretch, said Dad. I blushed scarlet. Some of the girls tittered, some rolled their eyes. Beauty, show everyone the bathroom. Don't worry. At the last count, we had 4 loos in our happy home, so you shouldn't have to stand around with your legs crossed too long. Honestly, Emily muttered, he's so crude. Vulgar, Arabella agreed. Why go on about all his loos anyway? Does he think we don't have any at home? Said Skye. Oh, stop it. He's just being funny, said Rona. But I knew she was just saying it to comfort me. She came up to my bedroom with me. She squealed when she saw the monster pink rabbit lurking in the corner. Oh my goodness, it's the biggest rabbit I've ever seen. It's horrible, I said. What's it called? Just Pinky. If I give it a proper name, it'll start to get real. I suddenly gave Rona a big hug. Thank you so much for birthday, Rona. I really meant it. He's the best birthday present in the whole world. He's only a little bunny in the pet shop. Your dad isn't really cross about it, is he? No, I lied. No, he's fine, I sighed. I do like your dad, Rona. Oh, my dad's a silly old sausage, said Rona, fondly. That's what I call him sometimes, and he calls me his little chipolata. Rona danced around my bedroom, gently touching all my Victorian doll collection, and my little china animals, and my musical box, and all my glass snowstorms. You've got such a lovely bedroom, Beauty. And fancy having your very own bathroom. Even Skye hasn't got her own ensuite bathroom, and her family have got loads of money. It must be such fun to be as rich as you. Lulu and Poo-Poo were clamouring to use my bathroom too, so we let them in and then went downstairs. I heard a sudden squeaking. It's here! Look out the window! Oh goodness, it's enormous! Our own super stretched limo! All the girls were dancing up and down, so excited. I had a peep too, and my heart started thumping at the thought that it was my birthday super stretched limo. The caterers were starting to clear my birthday buffet already. There was no sign of Mum and Dad. I went looking for them to tell them that the car was here. I opened the door of the kitchen. Dad had hold of Mum, his face contorted. I ran forward, terrified he was going to hit her again. Dad, the super stretch limo is here. Come and look, it's so grand. I'm so lucky, I blurted. Dad didn't even seem to hear me. Never let me see you flirting with that creep Marshall again, he said, giving Mum a shake. She wasn't flirting, Dad, I said. Oh, thank you to mind your own business, Beauty, Dad said. Did you say the car was here? Right, let's be off then. Mum rubbed her wrist, blinking hard. She looked at Dad as if she wanted to say something, but then looked at me instead. She tried to smile. Come on then, birthday girl, she said, picking up a large carrier bag on the kitchen floor. What's that you've got, Dilly? Dad asked. It's little going home presents, said Mum. Beauty can give one to each girl as we drop them off. Dad breathed a little easier. Nice touch, he said grudgingly. So, what are we giving them all? Bracelets? Smelly bath stuff? Cuddly toys? Oh, it's just a little token, said Mum, walking to the door. Come on, Beauty. A super stretch limo. Imagine, how exciting. But Dad grabbed at the carrier bag before she could get any further. Let me see, he demanded. He delved in and brought out a handful of the beautifully beribboned cookie bags. Are you still trying to palm them off with this muck, he said. They're just little cookies, Jerry, so the children will start calling Beauty their little cookie, said Mum. Don't talk such nonsense. You're not shaming us by doling these out. We'll be a laughing stock, and we'll probably give them food poisoning to boot, said Dad. He picked up the carrier bag and bashed it into the floor. Then he stamped up and down on it dementedly, smashing all the cookies into crumbs. We watched him silently, wincing as if he was stamping all over us. Dad slowed down a little, out of breath, half glancing towards the door, obviously wondering if anyone could hear. Mum gave him one look, and then she took hold of my hand. Come on, Beauty, let's look after our guests, she said. They were huddled in the hall, nudging each other, looking anxious. Rona came and slipped her arm around me. Come on, girls, let's get in the limo, said Mum. She acted like nothing had happened, though her cheeks were burning and even her chest was flushed pink. She opened the front door and the girls ran out eagerly, jostling over who was going to sit where. I'm sitting next to Beauty, said Rona. No, you're sitting next to me, Skye insisted. I've got 2 sides, haven't I, silly, said Rona. I'll be sitting next to both of you. I looked at Mum. Is Dad still coming, I whispered. I don't know, and I don't care, Mum whispered back. Dad did come, rubbing his hands and humming happy birthday to you as if nothing had happened. Hands up who's even been in a super stretch limo before, he said. No one put their hand up. Dad nodded triumphantly. I saw Skye and Emily and Arabella roll their eyes at each other. He'll be telling us how much it cost to hire it next, Arabella whispered. He is so awful, said Emily. He's just plain nuts, said Skye. Rona shifted closer to me and started talking about birthday. They had 6 rabbits in the pet shop. They did have a little white one like Lily, but it didn't have floppy ears and it wasn't anywhere near as little and cute as Birthday. He's the best rabbit ever, and you're the best friend ever, I said. Hello, said Skye. Rona just happens to be my best friend. I'm best friends with both of you, said Rona, Now shut up, Sky, it's Beauty's birthday. It was my birthday, and here I was with Rona, being lovely to me, on a fantastic birthday trip, and back home I had the present I'd been longing for. I should feel the happiest girl in the whole world, and yet every time I looked at Mum, I wanted to burst into tears. She was terribly squashed up beside Louise and Poppy, trying hard to chat to them, giving barley sugar to someone who felt sick, pointing out places we were passing, being so brave. She smiled at me from time to time, but she didn't so much as glance in Dad's direction. He'd stopped going on and on about the super-stretch limo and had dozed off. I prayed he wouldn't start snoring. He didn't wake up until we drew up outside the theatre. Then he sprang into action, assembling us all on the pavement, jumping around and joking. He made a great show of counting everyone, tapping each girl on her nose. He tried to tap Mum too, but she ducked out of his way. Birthday Bonanza started off wonderfully. There was a huge birthday party on stage with loads of singing and dancing. I liked McTavish. I liked Will Foreman. I liked the actress playing the birthday girl, a beautiful slender girl with long red hair past her waist. But then she came to the front of the stage and asked if there were any birthday girls or boys in the auditorium. I turned around and saw lots and lots of hands waving. "You wave too, Beauty," said Rona. So I stuck my hand up and waved feebly, thinking they were just going to sing happy birthday. "Hey there, you better come up on stage and share our birthday party," said the red-haired girl, beckoning. Oh no. I saw 10 or 12 kids rushing forward to get on stage. The girls were all pretty skinny sky-type girls, in short skirts or tight jeans. I imagined myself standing amongst them, in my prim pearl grey dress, and nearly died. "Go on, Beauty," said Rona. "No fear," I said. "Anyone else?" said the red-haired girl, peering in our direction. "Beauty," Dad hissed along the row. "Get yourself up there." "I can't," I said, shrinking down in my seat. I won't." "Well, if she's not going to, I am," said Sky, jumping up. "But it's not your birthday, Sky," said Rona. "They're not going to ask for my birth certificate, are they?" said Sky, shoving her way along the row. I heard Dad hollering at me, but I shook my head determinedly, knowing he couldn't push his way right along past 18 girls to physically shove me on stage. Sky was up there like a shot, tossing her blonde hair and standing with one hand on her hip, totally at ease. They all had to join in a birthday song and then play a crazy game of musical chairs. Then disco lights started flashing, and they all had to dance. I was so relieved I hadn't gone on stage myself, even though Dad was madder than ever at me. He glared down the row at me. When he looked back at the stage, he couldn't help smiling as Sky pranced and strutted, up and down, arms up, hips shaking, toes tapping. It was obvious he'd give anything to have a daughter like her. Rona's hand found mine, and she gave it a comforting squeeze. Everyone talked like crazy in the car going back, telling their favourite parts, arguing about which was the dreamiest boy in McTavish, singing snatches of song. Sky stood up to repeat her little dance routine, but the chauffeur told her to sit right down. Dad didn't tell Sky off. He winked at her. She winked back, and then turned her head and sniggered at Emily and Arabella. Dad wasn't in a winking mood with me. I knew he was furious because I wouldn't go on the stage. I didn't want him to start ranting in front of everyone, but I was getting very scared about being left on my own with him. We dropped Rona off last, and we gave each other a very big hug. "Thank you so much for birthday, Rona," I said again. "I'm so glad you like him," said Rona. She paused and then whispered in my ear, "We'll let Sky still think she's my best friend, but really I want to be your best friend, Beauty." "Come on, girls, no need for all these grand farewells. You'll be seeing each other at school on Monday," said Dad. "Off you go, Rosa." "Rona," I said, giving her another hug. Her mum and Dad must have been watching out for her, because her front door opened and Mr. and Mrs. Marshall were there on the doorstep, waving to her. Rona gave me one last hug and then ran up her garden path to her home. "Is she the one with the swimming pool?" said Dad. "Must be the size of a footpath, because those houses haven't got any back garden to speak of. It's a tacky house too. Look at the state of that paintwork. Wouldn't you think that guy would take a bit of pride in his own house, keep it up to scratch? I don't know why you're acting so pally with that little kiddie. She isn't anything special. Why on earth don't you make friends with that little blonde poppet, Sky?" Dad remembered her name all right. "I don't like Sky," I mumbled. "Don't be so silly. You could take a few tips from that girl. She's not backward in coming forward. She was off like a rocket when she got the chance to go on the stage. Why wouldn't you go, Beauty? That's the whole blooming point of the show, to celebrate your birthday in style. Why the hell do you think I forked out £1,000 for the tickets? You were supposed to get up there and enjoy yourself and show off to all your little friends, not sit quivering in your seat like a great fat pudding." "Jerry," said Mum. "I'm sick to death of the two of you," Dad said, his voice raising, not caring that the chauffeur could hear every word. I worked my butt off for both of you, flinging money at you like it was confetti, and yet I never get one word of gratitude. You're both sitting there with your faces tripping you. I've spent a small fortune on your birthday, Beauty, and yet you haven't the wits to make the most of it. You stand in the corner like you're some little sado, no friends, while all the other girls bounce about and have a laugh and enjoy themselves. Please don't, Jerry. You know better, Dilly. You won't chat properly with the other mums. You act like you can't say boo to a goose half the time. I buy you lovely clothes and jewellery so you can show yourself off, and what do? Only go and lose your diamond collar. How can you lose it, for pity's sake? I know you're a fool, but surely even you can do up the clasp of a necklace. I know I'm a fool, said Mum. I'm a fool to let you talk to me like this. I'm even more of a fool to let you say such unkind things to our poor Beauty. Poor Beauty? Dad reached over and gave me a shake. You're a little sly boots, miss. How dare you suck up to that Rosa like that and ask her to bring you that wretched rabbit? I didn't, Dad. Don't you lie to me. I won't have it, said Dad. I don't think you can get the better of me either. You've a long way to go before you can outwit your old dad. He had an awful gleam in his eye. I didn't understand until we got home. I went running right through the house and out of the French windows to see Birthday. The hutch door was swinging open. I stared at it. I knew I'd shut it properly. I'd carefully checked the latch to see it was secure. I held my breath, bending down to see if Birthday was still there, huddled in his bedding. I scrabbled my hands through the straw desperately, but it was no use. He was gone. I looked wildly around the patio and then started searching the garden, going down on my hands and knees to peer underneath every bush. Beauty! Mum came out onto the patio. She saw the empty rabbit hutch. Oh no! I left it latched up properly, Mum. I know I did, I cried. I don't know how it came undone. I do, said Mum. Jerry! Jerry, come here! Dad came out onto the patio too. Quit bawling at me like I'm your pet dog, Dilly, he blustered. Beauty, what the hell are you doing? Stand up, you're getting your fancy new dress filthy. I'm looking for Birthday, I sobbed. Who? Oh, that damn rabbit. Has it escaped already, said Dad. You deliberately let him out, said Mum. You must have sneaked out here while Beauty and all the girls were getting into the limo. I didn't sneak, said Dad, putting his hands on his hips. He stuck his chin up belligerently. Yes, I let the rabbit out. I've always made it plain I'm not having animals all over the place. But he's mine, I wept. How could you let him out, Dad? He's so little. He'll be so frightened. Oh, Birthday, where are you? Stop talking nonsense. He'll be chomping grass somewhere with all his little bunny friends, said Dad. That's the place for rabbits, out in the wild. Now stop that baby crying. You look a sight with your face all screwed up like that. There's no need to make such a stupid fuss. You've got your lovely pink toy rabbit to play with. I barely listened to Dad. I carried on searching. Mum helped too. He must be here somewhere. He couldn't have burrowed all the way under the fence, could he? I said. He might have squeezed out at the end. Behind the shed, said Mum. I think there's a bit of a gap in the fence there. She ran to look and then gasped. She staggered backwards, her hands over her mouth. What? What is it, Mum? I said, getting to my feet. Don't come any nearer, Beauty. Stay where you are, Mum said. She was shaking all over, as if she was going to fall down. I couldn't help running to her, though she shouted at me to keep away. Then I saw why. Birthday was lying limply beside the shed, his little furry body and his soft paws, but his head mostly wasn't there. I started screaming. Mum put her arms tight around me, pushing my head against her chest so that I couldn't see poor torn Birthday any more. Dad ran over too. Oh, God, how disgusting. A fox must have got it. That's animals for you, he said. You monster, said Mum. What? Look, I didn't tear its head off, its shoulders. I wasn't to know a fox would get it. Still, that's what happens when you have pets. Come here, Beauty, have a cuddle with your dad. I shrank away from him. I bloody hate you, I sobbed. What? Dad stared at me, shaking his head. Don't you dare talk to me like that. I'll wash your mouth out with soap. Stop your stupid frets, Jerry. You sicken me, said Mum. I sicken you, said Dad. How dare you say that to me? I dragged you out the gutter, spent a fortune on you, gave you this beautiful home. It isn't a beautiful home. It's a living hell, said Mum. Well, if you don't like it, then get out, said Dad. Get on, push off, get out, you ungrateful cow. All right, I shall, said Mum. Mum, I said, clutching her. And you can take the kid with you, said Dad. Of course, said Mum. Dad stared at her and then folded his arms. Right then, sod off, both of you, he said. We will, just as soon as we've buried poor Birthday, said Mum. You going to do what? You're not digging a hole in my lawn, said Dad. Mum took no notice. She went to the shed and got a big garden spade and a smaller one for me. We'll dig here, Beauty, she said. Go and change out of your dress and boots, put your jeans on and come back and help. I did what I was told, still sobbing. When I got back to the garden, Dad was digging too, sighing and swearing. Mum carried on digging as well, though her hands kept slipping and her spade didn't cut cleanly through the earth. She'd taken her high heels off, but she couldn't put her bare feet on the spade and push down. I gently took the spade from her and started digging properly. Mum straightened up, staring over at the remains of Birthday. I won't be a minute, she said, going to the house. I hated being left alone with Dad. He was crimson in the face and sweating badly. This is all your fault, he said to me. You would go on and on about wanting a rabbit. Maybe this will teach you a lesson. I didn't answer. I just went on digging. Mum came back with a pillowcase. She went up to Birthday's body. I'll do it, said Dad. No, I will, said Mum. She retched as she touched Birthday, getting her hands all bloody, but she wrapped the pillowcase around him and carried him at arm's length over to us. Say goodbye to him, Beauty, said Mum. Goodbye, darling little Birthday, I said, touching the pillowcase. I could feel him underneath, still and stiff. Mum let me lay him in the bottom of the grave, and then we started covering him with earth. Let me do it, for God's sake. You've got to fill it evenly so the turf fits back on top, said Dad. All right, you do it, Jerry, said Mum. She took me by the hand and we walked into the house. Mum looked at me. Go and pack a suitcase, Beauty. 3 or 4 outfits, a few of your favourite things, washing stuff, pyjamas, just as if you're going on holiday, she said. So, we're really leaving, I said shakily. Yes, we are, said Mum. You don't want to stay, do you? No, I want to go with you. Then that's what we'll do, said Mum. Quick then. I chose my new grey dress and boots, my other jeans, a denim skirt, 3 t-shirts and a thick jumper. I packed my new felt tips and my drawing book, my Sam and Lily folder and my new DVD, and a little princess. The giant pink rabbit leered at me in the corner as I snatched things frantically and squashed them into the suitcase. Ready, babe? Said Mum. She'd got her suitcase packed too. She carried them both out to her car. Let's go now, Mum, while Dad's still round the back. No, we'll say goodbye properly, said Mum. We waited in the hall, both of us trembling. Dad came in from the garden at last, his shoes in his hand. What are you two doing, lurking there? He said, walking down the hallway. Get those shoes off. You'll be walking mud all over the carpet. We're going, Jerry. I'll keep in touch, obviously, as you'll want to see Beauty. What? You're not really going, said Dad. Because I set the damn rabbit free. Because of many, many things, said Mum. Now listen, I've had enough of this. Walk out of here and you're never coming back. Do you understand? And if you think I'm setting you up in another happy home, you're very much mistaken. I'll sue you for desertion and I won't pay you a penny. I won't have any money anyway. Not if I'm done for bribery. I'll probably end up in jail. I don't care where you end up, said Mum. Don't worry. I'd sooner live in a pigsty than one of your happy homes. Goodbye. Goodbye, Dad, I whispered. Dad was still shaking his head, looking utterly baffled as we walked out of the house. And that is where we will leave part 7 of Cookie by Jacqueline Wilson. I'll be back soon with the next part of this fantastic story and lots more stories and videos coming your way very soon. If you'd like to subscribe or hit a like, that's always appreciated, guys. Take care. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.